Hey guys, Eric Castiglione here, owner and head coach of Viking Athletics, and today we're doing a 20-minute follow-along video for the lateral hips. We're not going to be addressing the hip flexor, that's a different video. But if you are stiff moving side to side, if rotation kind of gives you some soreness in your low back, you could have tight hips. This could be a good drill for you, and it's just a great part of your general overall mobility. All you need for this is a foam roller. We will be doing 3 foam rolling drills for 2 minutes apiece per side, so 12 minutes total of foam rolling. And then we've got 2 stretches that we're gonna do on top of that don't require a foam roller, and we're gonna be doing those for 2 minutes apiece per side as well. So 20 minutes total of mobility. If you want any lasting change, 2 minutes is the minimum dose. If you're pressed for time and you only have 10 minutes, you can cut the dosage in half. If you do this pre-squat session or something like that, you'll still reap the benefit for that individual session. You just don't get any lasting change. So, first one we're going to do, we got 20 minutes on the clock. We're going to be foam rolling our glutes. Particularly, I want to get in deep to my piriformis. So I am foam rolling the left side right now. I want to cross my left foot over my right knee and turn into it. I'm just going to kind of move up and down. It's a very small range of motion. If I find something that feels particularly crunchy, turn into it. We can saw back and forth, side to side. Again, we're trying to get nice and deep into the glutes. The function of your glutes is to extend the hips. It's not just something to sit on. And it's something that we often neglect. So the more time we can spend making sure that it's not super tight, especially if you spend a lot of time sitting, that can happen. Want to make sure that we give ourselves the attention that we need. Still got about 45 seconds left on this side. Again, I can get some side to side rotation as well, a little bit of trunk rotation. I'm keeping my right foot planted, just trying to saw back and forth when I feel a particularly crunchy spot. After this, we're going to be moving on to the IT band. Again, I'm going to be doing all one side with the foam rolling, and then all the other side with the foam rolling. Once that's out of the way, we'll move on to the stretches. Next is the IT band. So naturally, I'm just gonna let myself turn on my side here. I'm starting at the crest of the hip. And again, I'm moving up and down. Since I am rolling out my lower body, I want to move myself using my upper body as much as possible, or the leg that's not being rolled. We want the side that we're rolling to be nice and relaxed. And then same idea, if I find a spot that's particularly crunchy, I'm gonna saw back and forth, get a little more pressure. If it's too much pressure being on my elbow here, I can post up a little bit more. I can plant this foot and try to take some weight off. It's a good way to modulate the pressure if it's getting to be too much. And again, just working our way down to the outside of the knee. Pain level should never be greater than a 4 out of 10. So if you're feeling particularly painful in one spot, that's when we can modulate the pressure and try to take some of that off. All right, so we're about 1 minute into this. I've made my way all the way down to the outside of the knee. Now I'm gonna work my way back up. And remember to breathe. One of my favorite sayings is you don't own a position until you can breathe in it. So again, we're trying to release pressure here. So if I am super tense and I'm fighting and not breathing, I'm really not getting the benefit of this. Just about 2 minutes through this side. We're going to move on to the adductors next. So I'm going to flip over onto my front. I want the foam roller to be parallel to my body this time. And I'm going to have my leg going out perpendicular to my body. So same thing, side to side, find a particularly crunchy spot. You can saw up and down, or to get a little bit more pressure, we can try to flex and extend the leg. So my leg is already flexed. If I extend that as I'm rolling, we're going into, we call it a long lever position. That allows me to work through a particularly crunchy spot. This one is always fun to do in a group. You can stare awkwardly at someone and make eye contact while you're doing it. Adds a fun level of comedy to the situation. And since we're trying to get people to breathe and not tense up, anything you can do to help yourself relax is always good. So we got just under 1 minute left on this side. And then we're going to do the same series with the other leg, glutes, IT band, adductors, and then we'll move on to the 2 stretches. As you're rocking back and forth and up and down, you may feel a little pressure in the quad. If your quads are tight, this is a good way to get at them from the side. Moving on to the other glute. But again, anterior hip, quads, that's going to be another video. So just trying to lean into this side. Getting the opposite glute. And again, you can cross this foot over the knee to really hit your piriformis, deep glute, all that fun stuff. Hips are always complicated. We like to simplify things and talk about muscles as if they exist in a vacuum and you can really target one by itself. Hey, I want to hammer my quad. I want to hammer my hamstrings. Well, hamstrings, plural, quadriceps, 4 heads. There's a lot going on, a lot of things tied together. Around the hip girdle in particular gets really complicated. So we can try to target individual muscles as best we can, but that's why we need a pretty comprehensive approach, and you're not going to pick one drill that's going to do anything for you. Just because you're feeling pain in a particular area doesn't mean that that is the root cause of the problem. We'll be doing another series on lower leg, specifically the calves and the tibialis, the front of the shin there. Typically when I have back pain, most people assume it's the hamstrings. They've got tight hamstrings and that's what's leading to the pain. For me, it's actually my calves and my Achilles. If those are super locked up, I feel it all the way up in my back. So everything's tied together, really hard to figure out the root cause of the problem. And that is why we want flow series like this. Moving on to the IT band. If I can do a bunch of different drills, I'm more likely to address the underlying issue. Always moving upstream and downstream from the area that is affected. Again, you don't need to spend an hour a day doing mobility. If you pick one of these series, even if it's only 10 minutes, pick a couple of the exercises in it, and you're doing something every day for 10 minutes, you're going to have such a better quality of life. You're going to feel a massive difference. You won't feel quite as stiff. It's just a matter of doing it repeatedly. You may have a particularly brutal workout that requires a little bit more foam rolling afterwards to loosen everything up. But in general, if you're feeling pain, you've probably neglected that part of your body for a while. So the more you do it, the easier it gets. Your tissue adapts pretty well and responds to repeated doses of the same thing. So again, 10 minutes a day. Anything's better than nothing, but if you can get to 10 minutes a day and hit a different body part each day of the week, you will experience a significantly better quality of life. So we're almost done with the IT band here. I'm going to be moving on to the adductors. Again, my foam roller will be parallel to my body as opposed to perpendicular, and my leg is going to be going out to the side. This is the last foam rolling drill of this series, and then we'll be moving into some stretches. Again, we say everything's tied together because I can feel my quads are still sore from my squat day Monday, but I'm not really addressing them right now. I'm addressing everything around them. And if you have any aspirations to being able to do a side split, these are great drills for you. I think I gave that up a long time ago. Maybe we'll get there again. In addition to just extending and flexing the leg, we can also try for some rotation. So if my leg is bent and I want to kick my foot up and over, get a little rotation that way, you're not going to have much of a range of motion unless you're significantly more flexible than I am, which is highly possible. But this is another way to kind of saw through those tender areas. There's no wrong way to move. It's about finding those limiters in your ranges of motion and trying to move slightly through them. 10 more seconds, and then we're going to move into our stretches. All right, so the first stretch that I'm going to do is the pigeon. I'm going to start with my left, since that's where I started foam rolling, across my right foot, or left foot, excuse me, in front. And I want to sink down. I'm starting up nice and high. I want to keep this fairly parallel to my body, my low leg. I can sink a little bit lower, and then what I really want to do from here is shoot my hips farther back. So that's going to stretch out my lateral hip here. Again, we don't want to be passive. We're breathing through this. I can add in some trunk rotation, twist that way, move back. So while I have my leg in this position and I'm trying to access my hip, in order to make this more dynamic, I want to move. I don't want to just sit here and stay. I'm moving around this joint to allow my tissues to kind of flow. It's already been about a minute. So for the stretches, we're going to alternate side to side. If you really wanted to make this a little more challenging, you could also elevate that leg and put it on a box, put it on a bench, even put it on a foam roller, and move from there. But remembering to breathe, we're just trying to sink back and down. I'm gonna switch to the other side in 10 seconds. And we'll do the same thing. Shoot it across. Try to sink back and down a little bit. I can move. The other thing that we can add to make it a little bit more potent is what we call PNF stretching. That's what the next drill is going to have a lot of. The fun PT term is proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation. In layman's terms, it just means contract and relax. So as I'm sinking into this position, if I'm still feeling tension in the hip and the glute here, I'm going to twist. I'm going to find a position where I can actually clench that right cheek, hold it for a 2 count, and relax. Kind of pulse. If I want to do it a little bit more PT style, it would be a squeeze for a 5 count, and relax for a 10 count. Try to sink a little bit deeper. We've got 1 more minute in this position. So again, it's just another tool. As you're moving, we can rotate, we can sink down, we can modulate pressure, we can apply PNF. There's no wrong way to do this. We're just trying to move through various ranges of motion while keeping this leg locked in a pigeon. 20 more seconds here, and then we're going to move on to the rock back hip adductor stretch, which is one of my favorites. It gets the inner thigh, and it also can target a little bit of the hamstring as well. I'm going to move into my quadruped position here, and I'm going to start with the left side. I'm going to shoot my left leg out. If I can keep that foot flat, great. From here, I'm going to rock back onto my right heel for about a 2 count, and then relax for about 5. These are not seconds, these are just me counting. And again, I can get a little bit more pressure and slide a little bit farther out by coming down on my elbows. I have the benefit of a slightly wet floor right now, so my feet slide a little bit more easily. That's nice. If I'm rocking back, I can extend the leg a little bit more and get a higher or a deeper range of motion. And if something is not feeling great, my leg will slide back in. About 1 more minute on this side. Ankle just popped, that was good. And then we will end with 2 minutes on the other side, and that'll bring us right to the 20-minute mark. I can also try to rotate my foot in a little bit to emphasize different parts of the adductors here. If I roll my ankle down, it's not really doing the same thing. I want to try to keep that foot planted, but I can play with my foot position to try to get a little bit lower towards my knee, or I can point out a little bit, and that's going to get the whole range. Play with it. Find something that feels effective. We'll do the same thing other side. Again, if you find yourself spending a lot of time sitting, your hips can really lock up. One of the worst things you can do for your hips is after a pretty intense squat heavy workout, you just spend all day sitting. So we do encourage people to get up and move throughout the day, but the reality is sometimes you're stuck in meetings. Sometimes you don't have that option. Maybe you're going for a long drive or you're flying somewhere. We do the best we can. But this is a great drill, great series to try to loosen all that up. One more minute, and that'll bring us to 20. Again, I can try to rotate my knee down to the ground a little bit more to shift the emphasis up towards the outer part of my hip if I want. No wrong way to do this. You're just trying to move until you find something that feels good, feels effective. We got 10 more seconds. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Give us a like, give us a subscribe. We'll keep posting series like this, and hopefully you guys find it helpful. We'll catch you next time.